Hello everyone, welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your boy, your host, OD, and today we'll be talking about analyzing and reviewing chapter 1028 of One Piece. Oh my god, this chapter was fucking fire, and I cannot wait to get into it. If this is your first time checking out my channel, please do me a solid, hit that bell, like, subscribe, do a brother a favor. I would really appreciate it. Join my League of Otaku. Anyway, there's so much shit that happens in this chapter. Like, screw this intro. I want to get right into it. So without much further ado, let's get into the review. All right, guys. Chapter 1028 of One Piece, Brachiosaur-Hiss. And you're going to find out why that title chapter is much better than you would anticipate much later on in this review. But anyway, let's start off with the cover art. Dope cover art. It's all the Straw Hats gaming and stuff. Off the top of my head, we have like Usopp and Nami playing video games. You have Luffy as Ryu from Street Fighter, Frankie as Donkey Kong. You have Zoro as I was about to say Zelda, would have pissed a bunch of people off, as Link. I don't know who Chopper exactly is, and I forget. Oh, Jinbei is Mario. So we have a bunch of the Straw Hats, pretty much cosplaying as various video game characters. So that was a really cool cover art. I might steal that, download it, use it as a wallpaper or something. I really like that cover art a lot. So anyway, without much further ado, let's get into the review. This chapter was the hype shit. I loved so much happened, and I had to do my notes again. So let's start off with CP9 is on the phone with Rob Lucci. We know that immediately. We see the back of his head. We didn't even need the part where it comes forward and we see his face and it gives us his actual name, right? And they're on the phone with him. And something to my surprise is they honestly could give two shits about the other dragon. They completely brushed that off. I guess, priorities at the moment, right? So they're literally give the whole Momo dragon situation, the Vegapunk artificial Delphi that wasn't fixed situation, completely just whatever. What's more important right now is what's happening with Wano. And long story short, they're sending in world government troops ASAP to annex Wano in the event that Kaido loses, which is totally crazy. And I agree with what the 1CP0 member says. That's kind of what pirates would do. It's kind of an underhanded tactic. However, I feel them. It's really smart. Kaido is an extremely dangerous force. So are his calamities. And then you have the Straw Hats, which are wildly unpredictable. And you don't want this place to come into their own, what's the word I'm looking for? Control, subjugation. So the best bet is to come in while all the forces are depleted and weak and wipe them out. So that was really interesting. I've been saying for a really long time now that something like this would happen, that other forces outside of Wano would be involved, and now the world government is showing up. You have to also keep in mind that the Big Mom pirates are still trying to climb the waterfall, so I'm wondering if potentially, they're going to have a run-in with the world government boats, maybe hold them off at bay for a little bit. And, I still think that there is a high possibility and probability that Whitebeard pirates could. So in order of most likely to least likely, the Whitebeard pirates might show up. Why? Because they have to avenge Odin, right? They have to avenge Odin. Ace came to them in time of need and was begging them, "Hey, let's go back to Wano. We have to help. We have to go to Wano. We have to go to Wano. We have to avenge Odin." At the time, they weren't about it. They were worried about too many losses, and they didn't do it, despite the fact that a lot of them were willing to. But Whitebeard was more concerned about their safety, and so they didn't end up going. So maybe this might be their time to go back and actually get that resolution. Also, Izo and Marco are there. so they would be going there to support their allies. So that's a great idea. The next person that could possibly show up in order for most likely, least likely, possibly the revolutionaries. Like I said, it's a big gap between the Whitebeard pirates and these guys, but they've been after the weapons that Kaido's manufacturing. We saw that they infiltrated Dressrosa in search of these weapons. We haven't really seen any mention of liquor iron ore, and I refuse to believe Oda forgot about it. And so I really want that to have some kind of relevance. Like I told you guys before, I thought that perhaps liquor iron ore was the key ingredient in making the Katakuri blades, not yeah, Katakuri blades, right? Wow, I forgot the name of the swords. But yeah, the transforming swords, the mechanism swords. And then last but not least, you have Blackbeard. Now, I do think Blackbeard said he was going to be going somewhere else where the world government wouldn't expect him. So maybe that isn't Wano. But there is, if you do believe the fact that he is going to get 3 devil fruits and that they have to be 3 devil fruits from each type, Paramecia, Logia, and Zoan, and he still doesn't have a Zoan, and he wants the strongest fruit of each type, quote unquote. Also, the poneglyphs are here, and other information towards getting the One Piece that we know he truly desires. It stands to reason that he could somehow get over here. Also, he might bring along Moria as a prisoner, and that would leave a lot of closure in some regards with Moria as well. Well, Moria and Kaido, because you have to remember Kaido killed off all of Moria's crew. So there's a lot of loose ends that I would hope that I'm kind of banking on here, and would hope that them coming to Wano would help resolve or just, set up. Also, above it all, I love the fact that Rob Lucci still has not given up on getting Nico Robin. He said it way back in Ennis Lobby. He'd go to the ends of the world and like to hell and back to capture her. And that man he's a man of his word. He really, really is still after Nico Robin. And just to pick a fight with the Straw Hats again just seems super unwise. But hey, he's got a job to do, and he'll be damned if he doesn't do it. So that's super awesome. My assumption obviously is, since the time skip and since the events of Ennis Lobby, Rob Lucci, Kaku have gotten stronger, right? But I just cannot see them being able to hang with Luffy at this point. At the time they met him, he was barely stronger than Luffy, and Luffy kind of, had to use his gears to like, step it up. But at this point, I just don't see how, no matter what kind of training Lucci has done, how he could stand to Luffy right now. Especially the fact that last chapter confirmed that Luffy is literally Yonko level. Not saying he's the strongest of the Yonko, but he is on that power scaling plane right now and needs to be given that respect. So I thought that was really interesting. Anyway, moving on. Meanwhile, under Onigashima, Momonosuke is struggling to get it up. And when I get it up, I mean Onigashima. He, for whatever reason, cannot seem to create the flame clouds. We've seen it time and time and again. Momonosuke does not operate well under pressure. We know that even though he is physically matured, his mental is still not there. He's freaking out, and I just think the sheer fact that he knows that if he cannot elevate this island in time, it is going to kill and destroy so many people underneath. And so I think that pressure is getting to him. And the one thing we were all kind of hoping was he was going to have a moment akin to his dad, Odin, where he was holding, the scabbards up while boiling in the pot. And I thought that, even though it was punny at the time, Odin is meant to boil and stuff like that. And I thought it was kind of, a euphemism, an analogy for, he needs to be put under pressure, kind of like, coal turns and diamonds are created under pressure. So I was thinking that under the grave pressure that Momonosuke is going through, he in essence is going to be boiled or whatever. He doesn't have a cool, Odin like food name. But like basically I thought that the pressure would mold him into being someone great like his father. And that doesn't seem to be happening at the moment. At the moment. I do think it will happen down the line. Something is going to happen, but as of this moment, he's struggling to even make any kind of flame clouds to hold up the island. So we're gonna have to stay tuned for that. Also, a really good theory that I've been seeing in the comment sections being thrown around is the fact that possibly they could use Onigashima to dispatch of the world government ships coming at them. Basically, use the bomb to their advantage. That is something very typical Oda that I could believe he would do. So that's a great idea in and of itself. Anyway, actually, on top of Onigashima, we have Yamato, who we see like running, sprinting past the Heart Pirates. The Heart Pirates have no clue who she is. I think it's funny that they're consistently being surprised by these people in their like full Zoan forms and have no clue like what's going on. I like that consistent gag. And it's a very low key gag. It's nothing special. It's just like, who is this now? We haven't seen this person before. And so basically, what she's doing is she's planning for worst case scenario. She's gonna go get in Onigashima, try to disable as many of the weapons and like gunpowder as possible. I have no clue how she's going to do that. Maybe she'll wet the gunpowder, or maybe she'll use her icicle powers. I don't really see how she could I don't really understand what she could possibly do, but we're going to find out in some time. But I'm hoping that by the way, her zone form looks really dope. I'm getting Okami vibes minus all the like intrinsic patterning. And I really love her little I forget the name of it, but that thing she wears. How I love how it like represents itself in her Inu whatever form. I forget the name of the beast. Sorry about that. What I'm really hoping though, besides her, trying to disable all these weapons and whatnot, is that she is going to find some exposition, whether it is in the way of another poneglyph or she runs into Hiyori. I really hope that there's more than meets the eye here with her trying to disable the weapons, especially, quote unquote, abandoning Momonosuke. Now, we get to the hype of the chapter, Sanji versus Queen. And Sanji is really, really struggling in this fight. So much so that like Queen is begging and imploring him to implement the raid suit, the Germa raid suit. He's like, bro, like I am working you. Grab your strap. Grab it now. I'm going to murk you. And to that, Sanji is like, no. And even though Sanji was getting worked, he is able to dodge another black coffee light beam from Queen, and then he's able to land his own attack in the form of a Diablo Jambe grill shot. And I love how it actually makes a little grill pattern on Queen. That was actually really dope. And I was like, Sanji ain't no bitch. But Sanji does need to, put his pride aside and maybe, just bite the bullet here because things are looking pretty bad for him. And so at this point, while he's flying back from the Diablo Jambe kick, at first I was like, whoa, did Sanji hit him enough to cause him to transform out of his Zoan form? But then I transform out of his hybrid form. But what was happening was in his hybrid form, he has like big like Brachiosaur like fingers, and what was happening was he wasn't getting transformed out of it and then back into it, because that's what I thought was happening. He got kicked out of it, and Queen was turning back. What happened was Queen was turning into his full Brachiosaur form, and then he tells Sanji that, all right, cool. Since you refuse to put on your raid suit, I'm gonna just work you with the unadulterated raw power of the dinosaur, and changes into his Brachiosaurus form. And I'm just like this whole time like, what is it with everyone going to their Zoan forms? Because we've been kind of told that that's like they're like, it's not as strong as their hybrid form. Like generally speaking, it's not as strong as their hybrid forms. And we've had Kaido and numerous people going into their just full on Zoan forms a lot these last few chapters. And so, Queen prepares for this tremendous attack, and we see the fucking greatest thing ever, and just why I love Oda so much as a mangaka. And we see him essentially eject himself out of his Brachiosaurus form. His neck and basically his head, neck, and tail shoot out of his main body and coil around Sanji in a vice, essentially turning himself from a Brachiosaurus into a snake, and he calls it Brachiosaur-Hiss. And I was dying at the wordplay, the punniness, and like just I was laughing so hard when this happened. And while I was reading, I couldn't help but imagine just Oda somewhere just drawing this like I'm the fucking best. I'm so fucking good at this. And like, oh, it just kind of reminded me of this scene from Avatar, right?
You're a mad genius.
But like for real though, like Oda, you are hilarious. You're a genius. Some people might not like this. Like it's absolute like it's absolute nonsense, but it's funny. And I also love the fact that this happened shortly after the whole Sasaki Triceracopter thing, right? We had the Triceracopter with Sasaki, and then literally earlier in this chapter, we have Kaku make a cameo in the back, and he was like the original Zoan to do outlandish things with his ability. Bro, like, can you just imagine being the editor for One Piece and like not really having like Oda's sense of humor, and you're like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Dinosaurs can't do this. And Oda's just like, have you seen a dinosaur? No, but like, I have archaeologists here that like, have they seen one? Then no, you don't know that they couldn't do this. And it's like, we're pretty sure they couldn't do this shit. But Oda's like, my story, my rules. And so I I love that. I love that. And like for a second, I couldn't tell if this was more of a zone ability or if this what had something to do with Queen being a cyborg, but that's quickly cleared up in the next few panels where essentially Queen is like normally, you know, it would be no different than shedding skin and that part of my body would be useless, but I am a scientist after all. So basically he does clarify in fact that okay, yeah, this isn't really something normally a Zoan could do. This is me being Queen, being a mad genius, and you know, science shit. So anyway, before I can even recover from the shock, hilarity, and absurdity of what's even happening at that moment, Oda doesn't like let up for a second. And while Queen is wrapped up around Sanji, crushing him, he's telling him about this weapon he had and imploring him to use the Reitsu. He's telling him about this weapon he has called the Brachio launcher on his main body that when he utters their name will instantly fire. However, in order to tell Sanji this, he invokes the name of the Brachio launchers, and so they fire upon him. And and like I'm like, of fucking course something like this happens. And then on top of that, he does it again. He's like, hey, Brachio launchers, I didn't tell you to fire, and saying their name again, thus causing them to launch again. And I'm just thinking about all the time, like literal expression of shooting yourself in the foot is taking place here. And I'm like, bro, this is the most hilarious thing ever. Like I am actually like just dying from just all this shenanigans, all this stuff happening. And I'm just like, Oda, you're a G. You crack me up. You bring joy to my heart. And it low-key reminds me of like that whole situation. I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but have you accidentally like been like mentioned Google in a sentence or something like that, and your phone like turns on? If you, this is for Android users, by the way, turns on and it's like yes, or like you know, I want to hear whatever you said, or like it Googles something because you mentioned Google and the OK Google thing turns on. So I found that to be right on, and boom, right, it did it right there. So I don't know, that whole scene cracked me the fuck up. Anyway, Sanji is released and looks extremely crushed. And when I say crushed, I'm not talking about like if a human were crushed. I'm talking about like when you take a soda can and crush it and it's all like wonky and lopsided and all that shit. And immediately, I knew what had transpired. I knew what happened. Sanji has officially become an enhanced human, an altered human. And the fandom is going to be up in arms about this. There's going to be a schism. I can't wait to see on numerous people's videos and on the comment sections and on Reddit how people react to this. I know for the longest time that it was predicted that this was happening ever since we got the clue that his body is changing and whatnot. Even when he got the raid suit, people had problems with that. I had problems with the raid suit for a little bit. And yeah, it looks official. It looks like Sanji isn't a failed experiment, just like Momonosuke's Delpfruit wasn't a failed experiment either. And we're gonna have a lot of discussions in the next few weeks or week maybe about how this affects Sanji as a character. This is take anything away from him. And the main thing people are gonna argue is this takes away from all of his whole cake thing about him being a human, the sacrifices his mom made, and like I get it, but I feel like this was truly necessary. Sanji was getting left behind, and no matter how devoid and like how much they want to like put their heads in the sand, Sanji was falling out of the monster trio. And in order to be the wings of the Pirate King, he needs to maintain that. And yes, he's just the cook. And I know stuff like that is kind of superfluous in One Piece and means nothing, but he was falling behind. He was falling behind, and he needed something like both the raid suit and now his Germa DNA manifesting. And for those of you that have, and I can, by the way, I cannot wait to see Mr. Morge's review, because this is like the number one thing that he really, really did not want to happen. So I can't wait to see how he reacts to this. But I don't know, man. I just think it's one of those things with like Chopper, how Chopper was always seen as a monster, how he always wanted to be human, but he said, you know what, fuck it. If it's for my crew, if it means casting aside my humanity, I'm willing to do it for the people I love. And I'm hoping that Sanji has a moment like that too. Also, I don't think this is the end of the world, because like I think what we're finding out is what being human means is what like is eternally. And I'm not talking about like his actual internal organisms. I'm talking about like just who you are as a person. I think there's this overarching theme in One Piece where as much as you're not beholden to the sins of your father and your DNA and like who your parents and your ancestors are, while you don't necessarily have to follow in their footsteps and you're not responsible for all the things they do, you can't run away from your DNA. You can't run away from your blood. You can't run away from where you come from. It's going to have an impact on you. It's going to affect your life. It is at the end of the day, while you aren't them, they are part of you. And I think that's kind of what Oda is getting to here. So try to take that like with a grain of salt in like your anger towards this moment, because I do know that a lot of people are going to be very upset about this, and a little reasonably so, because I felt the same way with Zoro and Enma, because I always thought like, okay, yeah, he's gonna get more powerful swords, but the swords don't make Zoro. Zoro makes the swords. It's kind of like a situation where he brings the best out of the swords, and like if he has shitty swords, you know, he can't utilize all his power. So basically all the swords are doing are helping him to utilize the full potential of his power. But Enma kind of circumvented those things, because especially when Kaido said, I feel Odin, I was like, I felt rubbed the wrong way. So I totally understand how Sanji fans are feeling right now. But yeah, basically, yeah, Oda just lets us know, like, yeah, this is happening. Sanji bangs his body back into place, and then Queen swings a sword at Sanji's head, chooses not to invoke Haki in it for whatever reason, and the sword breaks. So yeah, it's officially confirmed he has the body structure of his siblings. Cannot wait for the next chapter to see where this goes. Wouldn't be surprised if we switch back to another fight. But man, oh man, oh man, I am super excited. Things are getting heated. So much is happening. I can't wait to see. Obviously, Sanji is probably going to put on the raid suit, get even more of a power up, get even more of a power boost. I know Sanji right now, as mad as the fans are, Sanji's probably really upset because he didn't want any of this too. He wants nothing to do with the Germa. Now it's been forced upon him, and it's something he can't run away from like he did previously. So yeah, that's been the review for chapter 1008. 1028. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. This was chock full of shit. I probably feel like, despite me covering all the stuff I covered, I might have missed a thing here or there, but that just goes to show what absolutely GOAT tier like chapter this was, and I'm excited. Anyway, this has been Otaku Talk with me, your boy, your host, OD. Please, if you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. would mean the world to me. And please leave a comment below. Like, I really want to talk and engage with y'all. How do you guys feel about him, becoming an enhanced human? Do you think this takes away from his characterization? Are you upset with Oda? Does this demean everything that happened during the whole Cake Saga? And yeah, what do you think is going to happen with the world government? Do you think Rob Lucci is going to show up? Do you think other people outside the world government are going to show up? Do you think Momonosuke is going to be able to hold up the island? Do you think he's going to use it to attack the world government? Um, just there's so many questions. There's so many questions. Do you think Luffy is actually going to be Kaido? Kind of want to say, duh, it's One Piece and Luffy's going to be the Pirate King, but you never know what Oda is going to do. Oh, and did you like Queen's Brachiosaur-Hiss mode? Or are you personally sick and tired of all the absurd things Zoan fruits can use and the absurdity of One Piece overall? Because I have bad news for you. You might be reading the wrong series. Anyway, have a great day. Take care. Peace.